Hi, my name's Nick Burnham and I'm here this month aboard a used Sealine 425. Now the Sealine 425 is a very conventional flybridge shaft drive boat, and it's a boat that started in 2001 and ran until 2010, and that period was very much amongst Sealine's most innovative. And the clue to that is in the title, 425. The reason it's called a 425 is this is one of the first boats to get the Sealine SECS system. That's SECS, and it stands for Sealine Extending Cockpit System. And what that does is it allows you to wind the cockpit back to give you a much larger cockpit. It extends back over the bathing platform, takes the dinghy with it, and gives you a lot more space. With it fully extended, it becomes a 45-foot boat, but back into the marina, you wind it back in and you pay for a 42-footer. Now there are a couple of other interesting innovations around the back end of this boat. The first is it has Sealine's folding clamshell canopy storage, so you drop a section of the overhang down and you can roll all your canopies up and tuck them away in the overhead, which is a nice feature. There's also a nice catering area at the back of the boat, so you've got a fridge and a barbecue on the port stern quarter. Now moving inside the boat, again it's pretty conventional. You've got a two-cabin, two-heads layout. So there's a master cabin forward, that's got a very nice ensuite with a particularly large separate shower area, and then you've got a guest cabin to starboard with side-by-side beds, which will convert to a double and also have access ensuite to the day toilet. But Sealine being Sealine, they offered a second interior layout when the boat was new, so you could have this as a three-cabin. And what that basically did was you lose this area where I'm sat here. This becomes the galley down the port side of the saloon, and that frees up space for a third cabin with a pair of bunk beds in it. One little detail I particularly like is in that guest cabin, where there's a fold down section that creates a little makeup area, or indeed a little desk. In fact, Sealine offered the option of having a computer link put in there, so you could actually use that as your office on board. Now Sealine offered this boat with the option of Cummins 500 horsepower diesels, but that's pretty unusual. The vast majority went out with Volvo Penta. Initially you could have the TAMD 63P at 370 horsepower or the TAMD 74 at 430. There's also an upgraded version of the 74 at 480 and a TAMD 75 EDC, which was also 480 horsepower. Later on in the boat's life, the D6 engines came out, so you could then upgrade to the Volvo Penta D6 in either 370 or 435 horsepower. At 370 you were getting about 28 knots flat out and a low 20 knot cruise. With the larger engines, the 480 horsepower of the 435, they were pushing the top speed towards 30 knots, and with the biggest engines slightly above it. Now in 2006 Sealine did a bit of an upgrade on this boat. It was mostly cosmetic. It was things like sharpening up the furniture, make it look a bit more contemporary, and the same with the upholstery. But there were a couple of more fundamental changes, and one of them was here at the helm. On the original boat, the actual steering wheel where I'm at now is in the centre line, and your navigator would be alongside you here on the starboard side. That's great from a helm position. It puts you towards the middle of the boat, but it does mean that your passenger is having to climb over you if they want to get in and out. So on the later boats, Sealine actually swapped this around. They put the helm over on the starboard side and your navigator was then over here on the port side. The radar arch changed slightly. It went from a U-shaped one to a full width goalpost. And on some of the very last models, Sealine offered a washed walnut wood finish as an alternative to the higher gloss cherry that ran through most of these boats. Now there are a couple of options worth looking out for on these boats. The standard boat has the ability to convert the saloon by moving the port settee across, but in fact it was possible to have the boat specified with a proper Z bed, a sprung mattress that folded out from the starboard seating area, which is obviously a lot more comfortable. There's an option of a washer dryer and a lazarette because there's masses of space in there. And there's also a variety of dinghy lifting mechanisms. One of them is an Atlas crane made of carbon fibre, which looks rather nice, but there's also the option of passerelles to get a dinghy on board. And finally, fridges. Sealine were big on fridges. It came with a fridge in the galley as you'd expect, but there was the option of a saloon fridge, a cockpit fridge, and even a flybridge fridge. If you're in the market for a 42-footer, then these Sealine 425s certainly give you a lot of choice. There's those myriad of engine options. There is the two layout options, of course, the twin or the three cabin, and there are various specification options. But more than that, that Sealine extending cockpit system, that means that you can choose between a 42 footer and a 45 footer pretty much at will.